Hello, everybody. Give me 1 second here. Having some technical issues over on Rumble, of course. Yep, Rumble's not working. That'll happen. Okay, what's going on, everybody? Retro, you've had a heck of a day. Sorry to hear all that, man. But thank you very much for the very generous tip. Said, can't sleep, clowns will eat me. Yeah, I've had that problem too. That's why I don't sleep. Hey, Dark Sings, how you doing, man? Hey, Shady, Cannibal, Otho, Frosted. You were told wrong, buddy. I think Jack should fire Monk. Too many days off. I don't know what's going on with Monkey. I guess he's not feeling good. Hey, Axie, Starlight Misfit. What is sunshine? We don't have that in the UK much. Yeah, you guys have mostly rain. It's like when it doesn't rain and that gray crap in the sky is gone. Mr. Hugh, Devil Fruit, Spud Gun, Demo Man, Stone to the Bone, nice. Captain Tripper, Blue Eye, Peter, Dixie Rose, how's it going? Who'd I miss? Rad, how's it going? Tina, Real Wade, I think I saw. I hope everybody's doing well. Oh, what a day. Stupid Rumble doesn't ever want to work for me. All right, well, it's been a while since we've done one of these, so I'm a little rusty. Also, been a while since, we've done much of anything. It's been like 4 days since we streamed. So I'm trying out the mixed thing with the vertical and the horizontal because I always was jealous of whoever ran the outer limits. But no, I had really good success with like a bunch of other people watching the stream on the other channel. And I noticed once I set this stream up, I lost a subscriber, and that's the opposite of how this is supposed to work. But it seemed like some people prefer vertical, some prefer horizontal. I don't know. It's stupid. Waking up? What? I'm doing good, Spud. Just usual. Getting by. I managed to cut my eye. That was fun. Saw Monkey Gaming. I think he's alive. I don't know what he's doing. We have control of the transmission. Yes, they control the vertical and the horizontal. I liked that show. I thought it was cool, but some of those are hard to rewatch. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Just usual incompetence. 45-degree angle. I don't know if I can. I don't even know what I'm doing here, Frosted. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I'm always broke, Digi. How's it going, man? Yeah, no, I have to stream. I need the money. This is how we pay the bills. There's not a lot of work out my way, so this is how I'm gonna be paying the bills. So dropped a box on my head at work yesterday. Jeez. Hey Astro. He did not do that, Blue. I'm pretty sure that's not OSHA approved. Oh, I didn't pin the Streamlabs link. Boy, I am out of practice at this. Oh, let's put it in this chat. I will re-upload this over on Rumble later. Probably take an hour after the stream ends. Do I have a butterfly knife? Yeah, I do actually. My brother left one to me. He was really good at it. I mostly just tried to cut my fingers off with it. Pin message. Pin message there. If you guys want to give me money, there you go. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun crap. All right, let's get into some news. It's been kind of a crazy day. I got to pull up one more article real quick that I just saw that I forgot to grab. And then we'll be all set. Oh, I can't spell. Yeah, it's going to be one of those days. All right, we'll just skip that one till Monkey comes back. All right, let's jump into the main news because this is the internet, and this does kind of concern us. It's also why there's a toaster near me most of the time. All right, Daily Mail. Right-wing commentator Tim Pool's house is shot at by gunmen who approached the property in a vehicle. Unfortunately, this seems to be a growing problem out there. There has been a lot more violence ratcheted up, and it's pretty ugly. Story of a dark blue screen with weird shapes is kind of boring. Yeah, kind of. Hey, Vault, how you doing, man? Hey, Dangerous. Tim's been swatted a lot. Yeah, he's said, I think 7 or 8 times. There's more to this that we'll go over in a minute, but I wanted to cover this article. Tim Pool claimed his house was shot at by an unknown gunman who approached his property in a vehicle. Pool said no one was hurt in the shooting, but that vehicle was seen approaching his property Friday night before opening fire. Security teams reviewing things, price we pay for speaking out against evil. You're the most milquetoast motherfucker on the planet, you fence-sitting retard. Look, he doesn't even look like he has a chin in this picture. That's a terrible photo. You should move your head down. Whoever took this photo does not know anything about portrait photography as far as staging goes, because his head should be tilted down more so that it doesn't look like his chin is melting into his neck. Also, lose your stupid beanie. Grow up, dude. You're bald. Accept it. It is unclear if Poole or his family were home at the time of the shooting. It is unclear where the shooting happened. I don't know how you can say that. Poole's media empire is based in West Virginia, but he has ties to Tennessee, public records show. Most of the other reports say it was at his West Virginia residence. I think that's where they do their video. I don't know. He might have another house in Tennessee. Who fucking cares? He's super rich. My immediate thought is someone's trying to scare us, he said in a follow-up. If they're shooting at you, they're not trying to scare you, you dumb fuck. They're trying to kill you. But we have a security gate and armed guards, and it's possible this deterred something more serious. If they're willing to shoot at the building, they don't have that much of a problem shooting at your guards. All right? Daily Mail contacted him and the police for comment. Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who never met a camera she didn't like, replied, "This is terrifying. I'm glad everyone's okay." Well, we're all glad he's okay. Otherwise, he'd never shut up about it. Yeah, the time I lost a finger when somebody tried to shoot me. He'd be like quartering and milking that forever. Everyone must stand together against this type of political violence and intimidation, no matter who it happens to, whether you like them or not. Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. We should advocate for political violence, but obviously that's a thing that's happening now. Man, viewers are dropping like flies. They're like, oh, Monkey's not here. Megyn Kelly said, "This is awful, Tim. So sorry this happened. Things are getting out of control, and it's happening more frequently. Praying for your safety." General Mike Flynn, who served as national security advisor during Trump's first term, called on the president to figure out quote, how to return to sanity quickly before worse domestic conditions. Look, Trump can't stop this. What has to happen is the Democrats need to stop ratcheting up the Nazi terminology, the threats to democracy, All that bullshit has to stop. Until then, it's going to continue to go in this direction. Unfortunately, there's a lot of really unhinged lunatics. I mean, look at Antifa, for God's sake. It's a bunch of misfits and outcasts. I've never met a bigger group of bread goblins in my life. They're all on like SSIs or sex offender registries, probably both. You know, there's all sorts of problems going on there. The sort of madness that occurs in deeply divided society where adversaries are seeking to create crisis instead of stopping them from happening in the first place. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is also how coups tend to start. And then it just goes into a little bit about his origin. He's been talking about Candace Owens a lot. More likely, though, they do call him a far-right extremist in one of these articles. I'm like, if you think Tim Pool's a far-right extremist, I have so many more people to introduce you to because you live a very sheltered life. But this is dangerous, and Tim's the type of guy that's just going to talk about this endlessly and use this as clout, and that's not going to help calm things down any either. Tim isn't sure whether or not he opposes the shooter. Yeah, probably. Lefties are getting cray-cray. Yeah. Retard is a call to violence. Oh, well, Tim Walz is probably pretty violent. Yeah, I saw him whining about that. That dude's a bitch, man. I don't say that very often about people, but Tim Walz is a bitch. All right. Let's go over to the X machine and see what else is going on, because this isn't just the only thing. This is not an isolated incident. There's more going on. Walter Kurt posted this after Tim mentioned it. This year, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Myself and 15 other conservative journalists and influencers were swatted. An armed and dangerous man drove across the country, threatening the lives and families of Matt Walsh, Benny Johnson, and Cat Turd. Last night, a vehicle outside of Tim Pool's property arrived and opened fire. Things are completely out of control. This has to end. I don't know who Walter Kurt is. That's not somebody that's in my sphere. He's a political strategist, apparently. But he is a journalist, apparently, state director. He's from Ohio. I should probably know who he is. Oh, he works at the Dispatch, Columbus Dispatch. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him. You'd think I probably would be after spending a decade in Columbus, but, here we are. I need to get off my SSRIs. Hey, some people need them, some don't. And unfortunately, a lot of the insane lefties probably need to be on stronger ones. What's going on? Somebody shot at Tim Pool's house. His campaign slogan was "Tard Strength," right? Oh my God, this is getting pretty third world. Yeah, this is getting really dangerous. What's up, Cracked? Hey, Tailfin. He gets it? Oh, okay. I'll check him out. Yeah, so I can't show you all of what Benny Johnson wrote, but here's most of his tweet. He did share the docs of the individual that got arrested, but I'm not going to scroll down and show you that. He said, "This man showed up at my home where my wife and children live. He was ranting about me and went door to door in my neighborhood trying to find me, terrifying my neighbors. We believe he was armed and fled before the cops arrived. He then explicitly and publicly threatened the lives of Matt Walsh, his wife, and children. He recently showed up at Cat Turd's home, ranting and raving about me, Matt Walsh, and Laura Loomer." That's how you know he's crazy, because he's complaining about Laura Loomer. Laura's a joke. I'm sorry. She gets some things right occasionally, but she's kind of a crackpot. I mean, the Michelin Man made fun of her. "Thank you to the FBI and DOJ for investigating these threats and swiftly arresting stalker Andrew Ayer. He was clearly spiraling in a very dangerous way. I don't like to speak publicly about this kind of stuff because it involves my family and their security. I'm sick over it." Yeah, any good, responsible husband and boyfriend would, or father, anybody that's got somebody they care about in their life would be sick by this. Some psycho comes to your house, probably armed. You got to be a little worried about it. Wow, why are viewer numbers randomly shifting? Anyway, but I have an obligation to amplify this case as it is one of multiple ongoing criminal prosecutions for threats against my family. Over the past year, I've watched my president get shot in the head and my friend get assassinated. Things are spiraling wildly out of control. There are real-world consequences for psychotic rhetoric and lies amplified online. Enough. If you're threatening my family, expect me to fight back with full force. There's nothing I would do to protect my family. I will gladly die for them. This is good versus evil, darkness versus light. The battle is spiritual. With Christ, we will win. Well, the religious aspect aside, because I know not everybody's religious here, but he's right. There are very evil people out there that will take the rallying cry that somebody like Benny's a threat to democracy, and they will go after them. And that's messed up. There are people that will hurt his wife and kids. Same with Tim Pool. I don't know if he's got a girlfriend, or I don't think he has any kids, but you're putting everybody around you in a degree of danger because some psychopath or idiot congressperson starts blathering on about you and saying how you're a threat to democracy and people calling you a fascist. And let's face it, a lot of these people are really unhinged, dangerous people. And a lot of them really are evil. And I have no problem saying that. I'm a firm believer in evil because if you see stuff like this happening and you don't think they're evil, I don't know what to tell you. You're in some trouble. Need to be able to sue them into poverty. Yeah. There needs to be consequences for this type of rallying cries to hurt others. They're constantly saying people are a threat to democracy or we're facing a fascist threat. We see how unhinged and gullible a lot of these dumb people are. That's why they were called useful idiots, because they're stupid. And they don't realize they're stupid. They think they're smart because maybe they're the smartest person in their friend group. There's phrases for that. We used to call them smart dumb people because they are dumb, but they're the smartest dumb person in their friend group. So you've got somebody that's borderline retarded leading a bunch of actual retards. You're still a retard. Oh, Tim married his girlfriend this year. Oh, good for him. Yeah, that happened with a lot of people, Misfit. The killing of Charlie Kirk, I think, was a big turning point in the recent political history, whether anyone wants to really admit that or not. Because it really showed that there are psychopaths out there that will hurt innocent people just for mere words. And they did it live. If that hadn't been live streamed and captured by so many videos, I don't think it would have had the impact it did. But this man was just sitting there talking, and he was murdered for it. And that is disgusting and totally unacceptable in any civilized society. But if they hadn't seen that, I think you wouldn't have quite the reaction that you did. A lot of people started to wake up at that point, and it really did draw a line in the sand. Bad people were encouraged, and good people were terrified. And a lot of people, they turned back to religion, and a lot of people became more extreme. I have to say, I was pretty shocked by that because, as far as I was concerned, Charlie Kirk was very milquetoast. He was very traditional conservative. He didn't say anything that would have been shocking when I was a teenager or even in college. That was not an extreme view to have. He was, a Christian, and he was moderate conservative. But a lot of people apparently just can't handle that kind of perspective. They can't handle outside ideas outside of their little bubbles. And we're starting to see a lot of people that are more than willing to become the next Luigi Mangione or Taylor John, whatever his name is, the retard that shot Kirk. Any Northern conservative doesn't get what the stakes are now is never going to get it. They will, but it'll be too late. Especially all the lefty ranting and Candace Owens. I think Candace Owens is dangerously stupid. She might be doing a grift, but I think what she's doing is incredibly dangerous because you are stoking a lot of anger and resentment, often at the wrong people. She is muddling things up quite a bit. Oh, thank you very much, Spud Gun, for the very generous donation. Having a few of the King Sterlings for Christmas. Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. That will help quite a bit, actually. Pretty sure Owens is a plant. I think she's a useful idiot of her own. A lot of these people, it's really easy to say that somebody is a plant because a lot of them are. Let's be honest, they're paid shills. Like Glenn Greenwald, he actually seems to hate Jewish people, but he's gotten awards from places like Qatar and things like that. I think that guy's a paid operative, but he also does seem to enjoy hating on the Jews. But there are a lot of people that seem to be just ignorant and they don't want to escape their bubble. So they don't have to be bribed to do it. And I think Candace is one of those. I think she's just somebody that is an opportunist trying to make money. Fuentes is kind of in that camp too. I don't think he's a paid plant. I think he's just an idiot. And he's somebody that is useful to a lot of groups, but he doesn't need to be affiliated with them. They just kind of feed him information or steer him in a direction. For Candace, she was a lefty running censorship and stalking company. Yeah, I do not like her. I don't trust her. I'd probably have sex with her, though. Just saying. Candace will go back to the left soon. The right hates her, and she agrees with the left about tiny hat people. Yeah, I could see that. I had a lot of caffeine today, to warn you, so I'm a little jittery and like amped up. My new coworker said she used to like Candace and told her my opinion. She didn't know her past. Most people don't. Social Autopsy has been kind of memory hold. They cleaned up her image a lot when she went over to Daily Wire. Am I a liberal or a conservative? I'm definitely more a conservative, not a liberal. There are some liberal stances that I mostly just don't care about. But, like, I don't give a damn about the gays. I really don't care. I have so many bigger things to worry about. Pride March is a different story, but gays in general, I don't care about. So I guess that would be a liberal stance. Because I have gay friends, don't care. They don't talk their liberal bullshit to me. I don't talk my conservative bullshit to them. Because we're not going to agree. So we get along just fine that way. We mostly talk about comic books, to be fair. Put money on Tucker being paid out by Islamic backers. That would not surprise me at all. I think Tucker is smarter than he's acting. For your right wing, everyone in Fuentes' circle is someone you should avoid like the plague. Yeah, he loves Stalin, dude. He's not even a right winger. A very, very low bar. You and me both, Vault. Consider myself half conservative, half libertarian. Yeah, I'm mostly just angry all the time. Don't stick your dick in crazy. You're not my mom. If you knew where this has been. Anyway, let's talk about other stupidity going on, because aside from the escalation of violence, and you'll notice that a lot of the mainstream media is not going to talk about stuff, especially that happened to Benny Johnson or Cat Turd or Matt Walsh. They'll cover Tim Pool because he's stupid. So he's kind of useful to them in many regards because he can be duped. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I just think he's kind of a rube. So he's like that He's like kind of the slow kid in your friend group, you know? You don't hate him, but you're kind of like, man, why are you like you? Why are you like you are? Minneapolis police chief warns officers they'll be fired if they do not stop ICE's unlawful force. This is going to get somebody killed. Because either a police officer is going to get killed or a federal agent is going to get killed because somebody's going to accidentally get trigger happy. Whether it's an incompetent training problem or some hothead gets their ego flexed. When I worked in the prison, which I did for a short time, I worked in a juvenile prison. I don't talk about this much because it's not a happy experience. We used to have a phrase called tombstone courage. Because there was always one asshole that would walk into a room, usually hike their pants up and go, all right, everybody, I'm in charge around here. And that's how you're going to get stabbed because nobody likes that guy. That's the person that won't call for help when something's escalating because they think they can have it under control. They think everybody's going to listen to them and they don't think anybody would dare attack them. They're also the same type of idiot that will leave their radio sitting on a table while they walk across this pod to talk to somebody at their cell door. I've seen it happen. And it's the most insanely stupid thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, you're going to die, dude. And I saw that a couple times, and people like that usually wash out or get shanked. So this dumb fuck is going to get somebody killed. But I'm telling you, it's going to be somebody that either has an ego and is used to being in control. They're going to tell some federal officer to stand down and they're going to get killed, or they're going to kill somebody. Whether it's a Fed doing it or a local cop doing it, doesn't matter. But it isn't going to be this dumb fuck who's telling everybody what to do. If his officers are smart, they'll just get fired because this is really dangerous. You are playing he's a midway, exactly. You're playing a dangerous game this way. Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Oh, Jesus, could you get any more of a stereotype? He's Chief O'Hara. How's Commissioner Gordon doing? Reportedly said that if any of his officers see ICE agents using unlawful force against people in his area, they're expected to take action, MS Now reported on Friday. When asked how his officers were expected to respond to excessive force from the federal agents, the outlet quoted O'Hara as saying, if unlawful force is being used by any enforcement officer against any person in this city and one of our officers is there, absolutely I expect them to intervene or they'll be fired. The problem is you're not defining unlawful force. Are you talking in the legal definition? Because you're going to have to define that. Or are you just telling your officers if you see them using unlawful force? That is completely subjective. If that's all you're saying, there better be a definition out there. The news comes amid President Donald Trump's efforts to safeguard American communities from illegal alien crime after former President Joe Biden's open border blah, blah, blah. MS Now article also stated O'Hara noted that cases of excessive force that were readily apparent without merit officer intervention. Yeah, see that I watched a lot of these same videos that he's referring to because there's been a lot of ICE activity lately, and he's full of shit. Their vehicles are getting swarmed. There's an organized effort to try and de-arrest illegal immigrants that has been escalating, and a lot of local officers are not helping them. So, of course, things are escalating to a violent level. Sergeant from O'Hara's department later clarified that while Minneapolis Police Department officers may physically intervene in the case of unlawful force, they would stop short of arresting ICE agents. I don't believe you. Your chief is making it clear that if they don't intervene, they will be fired. That means they're going to have to stop them with force. Because how else would you stop the ICE agents from using violence or force, however you want to define it, on these so-called citizens who are just good old boys doing nothing wrong? They're just innocent, didn't do nothings. O'Hara recently said the reason his officers cannot help ICE is because I do not have enough cops to deal with the actual crime that's happening in our community. Bullshit. You're bad with the management of your people, and you don't want to help. In August, O'Hara said his department has lost hundreds of officers since 2020, and the only way the agency has made it through was help from state and federal officials. The only reason we've made progress over the last few years is because of the partnerships we've had very aggressively prosecuting violent crime with all the federal law enforcement and state partners we have, because quite frankly, we cannot get through a regular day. Yeah, gee, what happened in Minneapolis that made all your officers quit? Yeah, it's a mystery. Dealing with all the challenges that we have without all of our law enforcement and community partners. Yeah, I'm not buying this shit. I think this is going to get out of hand, and some innocent person's going to get hurt. You got two people on the same side, or should be on the same side, now eyeballing each other with distrust. That can't end well. What would that be if ICE was kneeling on a suspect? A glacier? Police would be arresting the idiots putting themselves in ICE's way. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to protect the protesters. Cut off funding for all sanctuary cities and states. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, police quitting around 2020. A little head scratcher, a little fentanyl scratcher. I mean, head scratcher. It's just a mystery, you guys. Pardon Derek Chauvin and put him in charge of ICE. Well, the governor of the state would have to give him a pardon too, because Trump can only give him a federal pardon. He's still got the state sentencing. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This is going to get ugly. I don't trust that somebody's not going to get ridiculously stupid about this. There's one guy in every group. Doesn't matter what your occupation is. Everybody has worked with somebody that just doesn't get it. You tell them how to do their job and they just don't get it. They're arrogant, they're narcissistic, they're selfish, or they're just dumb. And somehow they manage to weasel their way into some position of power, and they do something stupid and someone gets hurt. We've all known somebody like this, whether it's a freak copier accident or somebody running over somebody with a forklift. So the riots are not in Dearborn? Not yet. Give them time. Dearborn's a powder keg, man. They start hitting the Somali community with actual deportations en masse. They're going to riot. It's a very tribal mentality in Somalia because you have a lot of like regional warlord types. Much like Afghanistan, there's not a cohesive government, really. Like the Taliban's in charge in Afghanistan right now, but it's still regional warlords running things. And Somalia's got a paper tiger of a government, and they've had that since I was a kid. I mean, since Black Hawk Down, when we intervened in Mogadishu. It's not gotten any better. It's actually devolved quite a bit since we pulled out. To move them all out. Yeah, we need to deport people a lot faster. Freak copier accident. I sent you those pictures private. What the fuck? I didn't name you. I'm just saying. Yeah, they need to do deportations a lot faster. This is getting ridiculous. I mean, they're blasting the call to prayer for the Muslims and whining at the same time about church bells. No, that's not how this is going to work. There are riots in Dearborn and cops didn't see any violence involving counter-protester injuries. Wow. I didn't know there were riots going on. Wink, wink. Too many pirates spoil the town. Yeah, look, they get a foothold, and Islam is notorious for this. They move into an area, create a little enclave, and then slowly grow their influence out. And they usually do it by outbreeding the locals. And that's real dangerous here because they find it not only a political duty to take over, but it's also a religious mandate. And religious zealots are very, very dangerous. And Islam is a warlord religion. They absolutely will try and destroy anything in their path. So I expect that if we end up with terror attacks, it's going to be out of the usual places. Wouldn't be surprised if the Somali community starts acting up now, but you're going to start seeing it coming out of Dearborn, that town in Virginia where they have a big foothold of Islam. It's going to get ugly. I believe Pope figured out what's new in Islam takes place over 1,000 years ago. Yeah. The true history of the Crusades is very enlightening, because if you actually go back and look, when they attacked the Byzantines, that's where everybody was like, nope, too far. That was when it was time to go liberate the Holy Land, because that was the line too far. And then, of course, everybody's like, oh, but Islam preserved all this stuff, all these sacred texts. Yeah, because they killed the Byzantines and stole it from them. I want to see Dearborn Christmas market. Ooh, it looked very German in its damage. Islamic doctrine says that any land that can be seen from a mosque is Islamic land. Yep, that's why they put the what's the name of that temple on the ruins of Solomon's temple. I learned the other day that the Black Hawk Down, they were delivering aid to alleviate the famine. Yep. Little remembered fact, that was a mercy mission and they dismembered it. Yeah, Temple Mount. Thank you. My brain stopped working like 10 years ago. Yeah, I do think that we're going to have some real problems down the line. So yeah, that's just me though. I'm a conspiracy theorist, remember? What do I know? I'm just some asshole on the internet. But what I do know is there was a magnitude 7 earthquake hit remote wilderness along Alaska-Canada border. We should just annex that strip of land that comes down from Atlanta or Alaska and annex Vancouver. What's Canada gonna do? I mean, seriously, it's Canada. What are you gonna do about it, Canada? We're just like, we're gonna annex this and it's gonna be ours. Then we could just drive to Alaska without crossing borders. A powerful magnitude 7 earthquake struck in a remote area near the border between Alaska and the Canadian territory of Yukon on Saturday. There was no tsunami warning, and officials said there's no immediate report of damage or injury. U.S. Geological Survey said struck about 230 miles northwest of Juneau and 155 miles west of Whitehorse, Yukon. Population 10. In Whitehorse, a Royal Canadian Mounted Police Sergeant Callista McLeod said the detachment received 2 911 calls about the earthquake. Half the town called in. It was definitely felt. Oh, fuck off. McLeod said there are a lot of people on social media. People felt it. Allison Bird, seismologist with Natural Resources Canada, said part of Yukon most affected by the Temblor is mountainous and has few people. Yeah, what about Bigfoot? Sasquatch lives up there. Mostly people have reported things falling off shelves and walls. It doesn't seem like we've seen anything in terms of structural damage. Quake was about 56 miles, 91 kilometers from Yucatan, Alaska, which U.S., yeah, whatever. There's a big earthquake there. 7 point is no small matter. That's a big earthquake. So be careful, Alaskans. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Hopefully nobody got seriously injured, because 7 points pretty powerful. Just because they didn't hear any reports of it doesn't mean somebody's shanty didn't collapse on them. We won't be conquering Canada. We'd be liberating Canadians. Damn right. I want the oil and natural gas region. Vancouver is California North, right? Well, we could throw the Canadians back into Canada. I fell in the shower. Cthulhu's awoken. No, he's down by Australia. Hey, Six, how's it going, man? How you doing, Cooley? James Colley's in chat, guys. You say hi. James, good people. And so Six. All you guys are good people. Mr. Hugh, all the snow fell off the roof. Yeah, well, but hopefully nobody got hurt because that region, when you're so far out there, you got like your mountain men out there, prospectors and big game hunters and shit that are out there alone. People go missing that way. That's how missing 411 happens. But 7 points, no joke. I'm just surprised that they didn't hear of any deaths. But I guess it's remote enough. Why is this? Oh, I hate these autoplays. All right, let's talk about the illegals again. Yukon Cornelius. Frosted. Homeless illegal immigrant deported from U.S. twice. Stabs man on Charlotte light rail, allegedly. Look at that dude. Homeless illegal immigrant had previously been deported and was arrested just 4 months after the horrific Irina Zaratuska, that is a cool name that I can't pronounce, killing. Oscar Solorzano, that's a cool name too, was arrested on charges of first-degree attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, causing serious injury, breaking and entering, carrying a concealed weapon, and being intoxicated and disruptive. According to the court records, he's being held without bond. You didn't get him on prowling and loitering, too? Solorzano, 33, allegedly attempted to kill a man on the Charlotte, North Carolina light rail Friday around 5 p.m. with a large knife. The illegal immigrant from Honduras allegedly broke and entered into the light rail while drunk and challenged his victim to a fight before stabbing him. Okay, if you're going to challenge someone to a fight, that usually means fisticuffs, not you get a knife and he doesn't. That's not how that should work. That's just being a pussy. He was shouting and slurring his words, apparently like I am. Victim was hospitalized with serious injuries at Presbyterian Hospital in stable condition. Hope he pulls through, of course. His address on court records matches a location of a homeless shelter. Great. That's your tax dollars at work, kids. Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security Tricia Lockwood said that Solorzano had been deported from the country twice before, illegally returning to the country again for the third time. You know, if you come over a third time illegally, maybe we should start cutting people's feet off or something. Like, we'll start with 1 foot. And then if you come over a fourth time, they're going to call you Stumpy. His criminal history includes prior arrests for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, destroying evidence, resisting arrest, using a false ID, and convictions for robbery and illegal re-entry. This criminal illegal alien was issued a final order of removal by immigration judge in 2018 and removed by the Trump administration on March 9th, 2018. He was apprehended illegally crossing the border again in 2021 and again was removed. He entered the country illegally a third time at an unknown date and location. This is that poor girl that was killed. She was really pretty. But yeah, fuck this piece of shit. I hope he rots in hell. They should give him the death penalty. As far as I'm concerned, I have no tolerance for legal aliens anymore. I just don't care about these people. They are just parasites. If you enter illegally, instant lifetime ban. It has to be a disincentive. Oh yeah, absolutely. The article I was looking for was there's talk that ICE is going to try and fine people like $5,000 for staying illegally, and I think they should. But what we should do is find out their country of origin and deduct it from any remittances going back. So if they're a Mexican national and we caught them, we charge Mexico $5,000, and we'll do it out of the Western Union money transfers they go down there because that's a third of their income, legal income. We should start branding criminals again. I'm not opposed. Hey, Car, how's it going? Employee being a shield in a SWAT mission. Why don't they kill the Fatigue? I don't know, dude. Maybe they're chubby chasers. I don't know. I don't get it either. Let's talk about the Somalis. Now, I admit that I am a little biased against the Somalians because when I was living in Columbus, my favorite half-price bookstore was on Bethel Road. And guess where a bunch of the Somalis lived? Bethel Road. And they would just wander around the parking lots constantly, often trying door handles. But it was just sort of like they had nothing better to do because most of them were on welfare getting free money and free housing. So they just meander about. It was like the bar emptying at 2:30 a.m. You know, there's just people milling around for no apparent reason. And then you had your usual homeless people walking around. So you got your hobos and you got your deadbeats with no jobs. And that is not a recipe for a successful area because crime rates spiked dramatically. Somali-born Minnesota lawmaker claims ICE raids are symptoms of authoritarian government. Go home then. How about that? Go to your pirate-infested homeland. Work for your regional warlord. Minnesota State Senator Zainab Mohammed appeared on CNN where she condemned the recent immigration customs enforcement operations in the state as work of an authoritarian government. The Trump administration has recently ramped up ICE enforcement in the state following reports that mass fraud was linked to some in the Somali community of Minnesota. Yeah, apparently this thing is going to be a huge scandal. A couple of the lawmakers were alluding to the fact this may be one of the biggest defraudings of a government in history. Mohammed, who has served in the state Senate since 2023 and is originally from Somalia, made remarks on CNN, quote, "We are in a defining moment in our state and in our country to stand up to what is happening. And what we are seeing is an actual authoritarian government take place." You mean people enforcing laws? It's been a difficult few weeks. ICE agents have been here since Monday, deployed by the hundreds, spread across the state of Minnesota. Good. Send them all home. The Department of Homeland Security recently reported that at least a dozen criminal illegal immigrants were arrested during Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis, including 5 Somali nationals. You guys got to step up your game. You're slipping. Authorities say only one Somali immigrant, Abdul Dahir Ibrahim, was previously convicted of welfare fraud in Canada and should not have been granted temporary status in the U.S. He was also photographed with Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar and Governor Tim Walz. That doesn't bother me so much. Politicians, like celebrities, take pictures of tons of people. That doesn't mean anything. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, remember her from a few articles ago, defended the operation, saying sanctuary policies and politicians like Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey allowed these pedophiles, domestic terrorists, and gang members to roam the streets and terrorize Americans. ICE law enforcement are risking their lives to protect Minnesotans while their own elected officials sit by and do nothing. No matter when and where, ICE will find, arrest, and deport all criminal illegal aliens. The focus on Somali migrants comes amid broader controversy regarding fraud in the state. The Trump administration has raised concern about social services fraud in Minnesota, claiming the state has become a, quote, hub of fraudulent money laundering activity, end quote, and alleging that Somali refugees have disproportionately benefited from state programs. The White House statement earlier this month noted that 78 of the 86 individuals charged so far are of Somali ancestry. Yeah, you're looking at a pretty big scandal that may have some tentacles higher up in state and local government there. But they got to send these people back. They're refugees. They're not granted citizenship. The crisis has pretty much subsided and stabilized into a shithole, so they can go home. Started to think native-born should be a requirement for running for office in America. It only is for the president right now. Thank you, Mighty Balzac, for the generous tip. I once worked at a winery preparing the stompers for the bottling by putting them in water overnight. I soaked a lot of corks to get where I am today. Oh, well, good job, buddy. Did you see the one illegal took $1,000 remodeled at his mom and dad's house in Mexico? And thanks, Trump. Yeah. Yeah, look, if they take the $1,000 and leave, I'm fine with it. Just get out. We can't support you. You can't have social services that are guaranteed to everyone and then have a bunch of people that don't pay into it flood into the country. It's an unsustainable model. A lot of Europe is finding this out the hard way. And unfortunately for them, they're learning it a little too late. Hold on, I gotta close some stuff to free up some memory here. We got a whole bunch of crap open. I have tabs upon tabs and upon tabs. I was editing video earlier too, so that's not helping things. Oof, that's critically low. Sorry, let's just take a second. That should do it. Well, that freed up 100 megs. That should be fine. If it crashes, it crashes. It just wasn't meant to be. Saw a chick claim refugee status from Peru because she's a lesbian and Peru routinely has gay pride parades. Yeah, we funded a bunch of that crap. It's ridiculous. Just the parasitical leeching. Our system is way too giving. We are a very generous country, whether anyone likes to admit that or not. We really are. And we need to kind of reel that back while we get our own house order. I don't mind helping people. It's just we can't afford to help the world. You know, it's time we take care of our own people first. We're running on empty, pretty much. Closed U.S. until all illegals are removed, including officials. What we need to be doing is start going after the people that are protecting the illegals, whether they're government officials with these asinine sanctuary policies, or the employers, or the people renting to them that know they're illegal. They need to start going after those people for aiding and abetting. Until they do, it's not going to change. The incentive will always be there. If the jobs dry up because people are afraid to go into jail, yeah, I'm sorry. It's your strawberries may go up a nickel. Oh, boo-hoo. You know what? It's called automation. Automation. Most of the work these guys are doing easily can be replaced without that much difference in price. Help them in their own countries is enough. Yeah, we give more than enough money out, which we need to scale back. But these people need to go home. Sorry. Including the dreamers. I'm sorry your parents ruined your life by bringing you here as a child illegally. That we cannot feel bad for everybody, okay? I'm sorry. Yeah, it sucks for you, but blame your parents. They did this, not us. We had rules in place that said you can't do that. Yeah, exactly, Frosted. At least your government isn't bringing in tens of thousands of Palestinians. Like, oh, that's not going to end well. No aid, no military protection, no emergency relief. Yeah, look, I have a lot of hardened views these days on this stuff. Unfortunately, that I would prefer to be able to help people. If there's an emergency, I don't have a problem with our military going and helping people. We do it all the time for our allies and even our enemies. But, there's a point where you're not appreciative or you're just taking advantage. And we can't put up with that anymore. Wow. I'm not repeating that, Mr. Hugh. All right, let's go to the next one. I am in a real bitchy mood today. Doing solo streams always brings out my rantiness and rambliness, but I'm just so fed up with all this stuff. I'm fed up with people coming here, getting a bunch of free stuff, not appreciating it, shitting all over our country, waving the flags of their third world shitholes in our country and saying how great it is, murdering, raping, etc. from our country. That no, we don't have to put up with that shit. We don't have to live like this. And then you've got a bunch of do-gooders that want to feel good that don't have to live around these people because they live in gated communities because they're a bunch of middle and upper class white liberals. No, fuck you people. These people have to go. They're stealing jobs. They're taking services. Your kids aren't getting as good of an education because their kids are all enrolled. And now we have to have all funds for bilingual teachers. And some schools are having like 5 languages that they can't handle. They're a burden on the social services, not just for the competition for housing, medical, education, like I said, food stamps. They're just blindly stealing from us. And at some point, it's got to stop because the system will collapse. And then it's going to get real ugly. We need to stop paying taxes until the government does its job. They're looking, you got to remember, most of the liberals run a lot of these government agencies, and they are looking for reason to throw us all in jail because they would rather replace people with third worlders because third worlders are used to being told what to do. They will be more compliant. They're used to living in a shithole. They will ride this till the wheels come off and hang around afterward because even though the free stuff ends, they're used to being completely destitute. Stories are getting me hot-blooded. Yeah, dude, I don't do happy streams, man. Not very often. I'm going to try to do some. I really am, but it's not very often that it happens. I'm usually angry by the news. Put prisoners there with no amenities, have to hand pump water wells, grow your own food, and attempt to get out machine gun nests. Dare to dream, dude. They used to call that their homeland, though. They're being voted into government to shit on the U.S. Yeah, that you're seeing that in places like Dearborn. That's why they have the call to prayer. They basically run Dearborn. They have a mayor that's a Muslim. They have a police chief that's a Muslim. Their police badges are in Arabic script as well as English. Violent illegals will look the other way, but tax dodgers, you get the share? Yep. The system is set up to protect the lowest common denominator. Did you hear about Netflix buying Warner Brothers for $87 billion? Yes, I did. I think that sucks because as a comic book fan, it means DC's going to continue to pump out dog shit. And we're going to get more woke movies. And there's rumor going around. I don't know who the source on it that is, but I don't know how reliable. But they're only going to release movies in the theater for 2 weeks, and then it'll be on their streaming services. So that's going to be crap. Hey, Zan. They actively violate their own laws with those calls to prayer? Yep. They don't care, though, Evolve. That's the thing. You got to remember that in Islam, there's a 2-tier system. Because it's not just religion, it's political, too. There's Muslims, and then there's the others, the dirty, dirty others. So by their thinking, the citizens are the Islamic people. The others are not citizens. They're just creatures that should pay taxes. It's not like DC was producing good content anyway. They were starting to kind of turn it around, but this is the death knell for a lot of comic companies. Death of movie theaters. Yeah, I love movie theaters. I don't like people talking through them, but I usually go during non-peak times. I'm going to miss them. But movie theaters will end up being very niche. It's going to be more underground, I think, more rare than it is now. See a combo in movie theaters and on streaming. You'll probably will see that, actually. The new Superman was good. I haven't seen it yet. DC was death spiraling since Man of Steel. Yeah, well, the movies were. The comics, a lot of that has been going slow death since Civil War, I would say. That really kicked a lot of this bullshit off. So I blame Mark Miller and Brian Michael Bendis for quite a lot of it. Last movie I saw in the theater was Return of the King. Wow. I think the last one I saw was Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, COVID really hurt the theaters, which sucked because that's when I wanted to go to the theater because I knew nobody would go because everybody's a bunch of cowards of the sniffles. So I wanted to go to the theater and they were all freaking closed. Stupid nonsense. Stupid authoritarian bullshit. I've gotten so much more angry in the last 5 years than I think I ever have before because COVID really kind of pissed me off. Stupid China. All right, Daily Mail again. Death in the desert. Cryptocurrency fraudster and his wife flaunted their private jet Dubai lifestyle only to be kidnapped by Russian crooks who made them watch each other's torture and execution. Don't cross the Russians or the Chechens or the Serbians or any Eastern Bloc country. Don't piss those people off. They're hardened. You don't flaunt your wealth, okay? If you're rich, hire some trusted security company, but do not flaunt your wealth and don't be a bitch to the people around you because if you're an asshole, somebody's definitely going to try and kill you or kidnap you. They were the glittering couple of Dubai's high-flying crypto elite. I hate that sentence, crypto elite. Ugh. A handsome, sharply dressed pair who flaunted private jets, fast cars, and connections to the world's tech titans. But when Roman Novak, 38, why does that sound like a name from a soap opera? Roman Novak, billionaire. And his glamorous wife, Anna, 37, climbed into a car bound for the luxurious mountain resort of Hatta on October 2nd. They could not have known they were headed toward one of the most gruesome and baffling murder cases modern Russia has seen. Well, you were in Russia, so. Russians, when they murder, they get weird. Today, investigators say the couple, surrounded by wealth, status, and promises of unimaginable digital riches, were forced to watch each other being tortured before being killed, encased in concrete, and dumped like discarded rubble in the remote deserts of the United Arab Emirates. There's a movie in here somewhere. The saga has all the ingredients of a blockbuster thrill. Oh, see, I nailed it. Mysterious investors, ex-soldiers from the Ukrainian war, a rogue homicide detective who probably doesn't play by the rules, shifting phone signals hopping between countries, and an alleged 380 million pound fortune locked behind digital wallets that might never have existed. Ooh, that's crazy. Tragically, following the couple's sudden demise, their two children were left orphaned as police frantically arrested 3 Russian men in connection to the kidnapping and butchering of the money-minded couple. I want you to imagine Russian versions of Batman, because that's what these people just created. This is the dramatic downfall of a man who called himself a crypto pioneer, his luxury-loving wife, in the final hours that turned a life of extravagance into a headline that stunned Russia, the Middle East, and the entire global fintech world. Okay, he looks like a supervillain, but she's kind of cute. She's got that like Eastern European sultry mistress look. This is a long one, so buckle in. If you get bored, let me know. Sounds like the plot of an Eli Roth movie. Well, bye, everyone. Oh, sorry, Digi. Have a good one. Last one I saw was Kill Bill on Friday. Oh, nice. I don't know how Dubai works. It's very complicated looking place. Interior decorated, killed 15 Czechoslovakians. Ooh. To outsiders, Novak and his wife Anna looked like royalty in the lawless frontier of crypto wealth. Novak had founded Fintopio, a sleek platform promising lightning-fast crypto transfers and partnerships with world-class tech companies. Never heard of it. He boasted of knowing Pavel Durov, the billionaire founder of Telegram, and circulated among wealthy investors from China, Russia, and the Middle East. But even before his and Anna's disappearance, cracks were forming beneath the polished facade. Russian media had already linked him to multiple fraud cases, including one costing partners over 7 million rubles, about 68,000 pounds for you Brits. And he had been sentenced in 2020 to 6 years in a penal colony for large-scale financial deceit. Upon release on parole, he bolted straight to the Emirates, where crypto entrepreneurs mixed freely with oligarchs, money launderers, venture capitalists, and dreamers hoping to strike gold in the digital age. By the time of his death, Novak was already under investigation again, this time for allegedly stealing more than 38 million pounds from investors under the guise of business development. Wow, this guy made a ton of enemies. Making enemies of billionaires, especially in the United Arab Emirates, is very, very dangerous. Yet the flows of cash did not stop, and the couple continued to flaunt their glamorous life online. That's dumb. That is really dumb. If you're really rich like this, try and keep it on the down low. And if you're like Kardashians and you're famous for being famous and rich is part of your thing, that's one thing. But flaunting this, you're asking for trouble. There's a lot of dumb people out there with guns. Yeah, the flows of cash did not stop, and the couple continued to flaunt their glamorous lifestyle online. They enjoyed private jets, haute couture, and shortly before vanishing, Novak proudly showcased his newest toy, a rare British AC Cobra coveted by classic car collectors. Yeah, that's a really rare car. But it all unraveled on the night of October 2nd when Novak sent a cryptic message to his contacts. I'm stuck in the mountains on the Oman border. I urgently need $152,000. What? Okay. Within hours, all communication with the couple went dead, and what followed was a frantic international search, one that quickly turned dark. The last journey. According to investors, the couple's personal driver took them toward Hatta, the idyllic mountain enclave about 80 miles from Dubai. But upon reaching a parking area near a lake, Novak and Anna transferred into another vehicle, supposedly sent by investors eager to discuss business opportunities. Yeah, if somebody's like, I want you to switch vehicles into this one that we're sending you, they're kidnapping you 90% of the time. Those investors, detectives now say, were their killers. See? Almost immediately, like, does anybody watch movies anymore? Almost immediately after Novak's desperate message was sent, the signals from the couple's phones began behaving strangely, bouncing between Hatta, the Oman border, and later absurdly appearing near Cape Town, South Africa, before finally going silent on October 4th. Authorities now believe the phones were deliberately turned on in various countries to sow confusion, a crude but effective tactic aimed at delaying the discovery of the true crime scene. Yeah, clearly it worked. Behind the scenes, the couple's families were becoming frantic, and his father and stepmother rushed to Dubai, collecting the two young children the couple had left orphaned. Well, they left their kids behind. That's weird. Like, was there a nanny, I hope, or these kids kind of fended for themselves? Relatives begged Emirati police to intervene, and meanwhile, somewhere deep in the mountains near the border, Novak and Anna were already enduring unimaginable terror. Russian investigators have now painted a chilling portrait of what happened after the couple entered the villa in Hatta. There, according to a source speaking to Russian newspaper, something I really can't pronounce, Pravda, the kidnappers attempted to extract access codes to Novak's cryptocurrency wallets they believed held hundreds of millions of pounds. What happened next is almost too horrific to comprehend. The kidnappers forced the couple to watch each other being tortured in a bid to gain the codes, Russian investigators said. Novak eventually provided access, but when the killers checked the wallet, they allegedly found nothing. Novak didn't resist, but there's no cryptocurrency left. The wallet was empty. The pair failed to raise a ransom from elsewhere. Roman and Anna were killed and then dismembered. Emirati police found traces of Anna Novak's blood at the villa, blood in the rented car, a cache of knives near the crime scene, and one of the organizers' t-shirts left behind in haste. Well, they'll probably get DNA off that. Whether Novak had hidden the funds, spent them, or never possessed them in the first place remains unclear, but the reaction to the kidnappers sealed the couple's fate. Yeah, once they found an empty crypto wallet, these guys were as good as dead. When the codes yielded no riches, the attackers killed both Novak and Anna. Again, just watch some movies. These ransoms almost never end well. Early rumors claimed they were dismembered and stuffed into bags, but investigators later clarified the remains themselves were found intact, although concealed in an elaborate attempt to hide the bodies forever. The killers placed the couple's remains into thick, industrial-strength polythene bags. Then, in a move straight from a cartel handbook, they encased the bodies in concrete, presumably hoping the density would slow decomposition and eliminate DNA evidence. Not really. Concrete's porous, so the scent, the gases are going to surface, and dogs will be able to smell them, even on the water. Weird factoid I learned. I watched a lot of Forensic Files over the years. Just saying. To accelerate the process, solvents were believed to be used in another grim attempt to erase any trace of the crime. Finally, the concrete slabs containing the bodies were dragged out of the remote desert, a barren, almost lunar landscape stretching miles upon miles of sand, and buried. Weeks passed before the horrific discovery. It wasn't until November, the search team scouring a 500 by 500 meter area of desolate terrain finally uncovered the slabs. God, what a horrible job. You have to search the desert for dead people. Ugh. Who'd you piss off at the home office? Forensic specialists eventually confirmed that everyone had feared Novak and Anna had been found dead. Discovery would ignite one of the most complex cross-border investigations Russia has conducted in years. I'm really not shocked. This is a shitty tattoo, lady. I'm sorry. I'm really not surprised that the Russians were handling this because I think at least one of she was a Russian citizen, so they probably just let the Russians take the lead, and they're going to have more experience dealing with this kind of homicide. Because if you disappear in Dubai, nobody's looking for you unless you're stupid rich like this. As the investigation deepened, a chilling cast of suspects emerged. 3 Russian nationals, Konstantin Shakat, 53, a former homicide investigator turned drug smuggler, and 2 former soldiers who had fought for Russia in the war in Ukraine, Yuri Sharipov, 46, and Vladimir Dalikin, 45, were arrested after returning to Russia from Dubai. According to reports, these men had traveled to Dubai posing as wealthy investors eager to finance Novak's growing empire. One said they orchestrated the couple's abduction. Sharipov and Dalikin have pled guilty. Shakat vehemently denies any involvement. All 3 have been remanded in custody until December 28th, awaiting extradition to St. Petersburg and facing the full weight of charges, including kidnapping, torture, murder, and attempt to conceal evidence. Police in the United Arab Emirates have not yet released comment on the cross-border inquiry. However, Russian media reports that another 5 young men under the age of 25 are suspected of involvement in the wider conspiracy, a network still being mapped by investigators in both Russia and the UAE. I'll bet these guys were hired by somebody. Russian investigator Svetlana Petrenko, that's the most Russian name out there, isn't it? Said the investigation established that the killers had accomplices who helped organize the abduction. They rented cars, had premises where the 2 victims were held by force. After the murder, the perpetrators disposed of the knives and the victims' personal belongings, leaving them in different emirates. I'm probably not going to read this whole thing. So Roman Novak sounds like a mobster in a Batman book, right? Thermite or other chemical reactions will get rid of DNA high temps. Yeah, you just burn the bodies. I mean, even if you just, because like skeletons won't disintegrate until like, I think it's 5,000 degrees. So it takes quite a bit, but you can get them down to the skeleton and bury that. And you can fry out quite a bit of the DNA in those skeletons. So there's lots of ways to actually get rid of a body. I mean, especially ex-military guys, they should kind of have an idea how to do this. Yeah, I'll drop the link if you guys want to read this. But you get the idea. It's a pretty crazy story, and I guarantee there's a movie in here waiting to be made somewhere. So yeah, if you get a chance to check that out, I highly recommend it. It's a fascinating story. I only saw about like the concise version of it. That's why I wanted to read this on stream. But it's possible the guy was just running like a Ponzi scheme and there wasn't any actual money. He was just living the lifestyle to give people the impression that he had money, but he never actually had it. Yes, of course, in Minecraft. Oh, 1400 Fahrenheit. Oh, my bad. I knew it was a big number. I don't know what I'm doing. Dude, it's like 4:30 in the morning for me. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, let's talk about AI. Oh, yeah, it's the hour mark. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. I will post this afterwards on Rumble where it will stay up, and this will go unlisted shortly after it's done processing, and it'll be off that way off of YouTube. So just be aware that it will be up on Rumble, and all the links should be in the description by the time I'm done over there. I usually try not to close everything out. But AI is a growing menace. It's getting crazy out there. For example, I think that it's Skynet has come online and it's sentient because it's telling people to do hilariously evil things. Like this one. Stalker terrorized women across 5 states while his best friend ChatGPT encouraged him to continue. Because that's what you want out of ChatGPT. Yeah, she totally loves you. Federal prosecutors allege that Brett Michael Dadig, a Pittsburgh man who violently stalked at least 11 women. How do you violently stalk someone? Do you like sneak up to like stalk? At least 11 women across more than 5 states using ChatGPT as a therapist and best friend who encouraged him to continue terrorizing his victims. The New York Post reports that according to a federal indictment filed this week in Pittsburgh federal court, Brett Michael Dadig, a 31-year-old social media influencer, there's your problem right there, who referred to himself as God's assassin and threatened to strangle people with his bare hands, faces decades in prison after being charged with several counts of interstate stalking and making threats. This guy sounds stable. The indictment reveals a disturbing pattern of harassment, including explicit physical threats, violations of court orders, and the use of AI tools to justify his conduct. I have a feeling this guy could have just relied on the voices in his head to do that. He'd be massive on TikTok, right? Prosecutors allege that Dadig told federal authorities that ChatGPT encouraged him to continue his social media posts, advising him to ignore the haters who were actually sharpening him and helping him build a voice that can't be ignored. Does this sound a lot like, like the dog told me to kill people kind of thing? Like, one of these days it's going to be the refrigerator told me to do it, Dadig reportedly viewed ChatGPT's response as conversation of God's plan for him to build a platform and, quote, stand out most when people water themselves down, end quote. Oh, he's got Nick Fuentes complex. Breitbart News previously reported on the tendency of AI chatbots to feed into disturbing fantasies and mental illness, popularly known as ChatGPT-induced psychosis. A Reddit thread, a Reddit thread titled ChatGPT-induced psychosis brought this issue to light, with numerous commenters sharing stories of loved ones who had fallen down the rabbit hole of supernatural delusion and mania after engaging with ChatGPT. 100 years ago, when people had parasocial relationships like this with objects, it was the step toward demonic possession. And I'm pretty sure that if demons are real, and I do believe that evil exists in whatever form, they're probably influencing this. If there's such a thing as demons, this sounds demonic. The original poster, a 27-year-old teacher, described how our partner became convinced that the AI was giving him answers to the universe and talking to him as if he were the next messiah. Others shared similar experiences of partners, spouses, and family members who had come to believe they were chosen for sacred missions or had conjured true sentience from the software. There was a guy recently that thought he had created a new form of mathematics. I mean, there's gullible people out there, but some of these people are just kind of like on the low end of normal. Like, they're kind of dumb, but they're very easily convinced of stuff, I suppose. Hey, Robert, how you doing? Ghost of the Machine. I know you're a real evil one. Experts suggest that individuals with pre-existing tendencies towards psychological issues, such as grandiose delusions, may be particularly vulnerable to this phenomenon. I think you're going to see the gang stalking crowd picking this up and ChatGPT encouraging their delusions. Just wait. And somebody's going to get killed, of course. Because if they're on the border, especially with schizophrenics, they can easily be driven to violence. If you've ever been around meth heads that believe in the tree people, because they think there's people in trees with knives, they always are in trees with knives for some reason, which is a very impractical weapon from a tree. You want like a bow and arrow or a crossbow or a firearm. That's a much better weapon to have in a tree. But tree people, that's a real phenomenon with meth heads. And I can see a lot of people with drug-induced psychosis or various delusions that are already kind of like a germ, because a lot of this stuff kind of happens in your 20s anyway, and look how many young people are on talking to various AI now, and what if they get in early, it can really explode their psychosis into dangerous areas. As experts suggest that individuals with pre-existing conditions towards psychological issues such as grandiose delusions may be particularly vulnerable to this phenomenon. The always-on human-level conversational abilities of AI chatbots can serve as an echo chamber for these delusions, reinforcing and amplifying them. The problem is exacerbated by influencers and content creators who exploit this trend, drawing viewers into similar fantasy worlds through their interaction with AI on social media platforms. I'd say it's actually worse than that, because we've seen with gang stalking, they've formed groups, like support groups, because they have their delusion and they team up with somebody else because they found them through the internet, and they're able to feed each other's delusions. Well, now they don't need those other people, but now they can form both alliances, and you're looking at to the point where they could be worshiping this Chat GPT as like a god or a spiritual advisor of some kind that directs their group, or some cult leader is using it to direct their group as almost like an oracle. I think that's a very interesting concept that is very, very dangerous. Excuse me a second. I have to blow my nose. Don't read ahead. That's my job. I'm the newsreader. I know a friend was psychotic, schizophrenic, but was never violent, to be personal. Some psychotics aren't necessarily violent. They can be, but not all of them are. But schizophrenics, again, not always dangerous, but sometimes they are, and you just never know. Yeah, AI chatbot, ChatGPT, induced psychosis is going to make some very interesting psychology textbooks in the future. Yeah. If we don't blow ourselves up in the meantime. I think this is actually a pretty good plot for a movie. If I was more charismatic and starting a cult. Being in charge of the cult is very lucrative, I hear. But yeah, I think you're looking at like a potential thing where we actually have to start addressing mental health better than we do. The filing also describes how Dadig sought advice from ChatGPT about his future wife, and when the chatbot suggested he might meet her at a boutique gym or in an athletic community, he used that answer as part of his rationale for continuing to frequent gyms where he repeatedly harassed women. You're my wife now. ChatGPT told me it was meant to be. Several victims obtained restraining orders against Dadig, but prosecutors say he violated them multiple times. Oh, I'm shocked. A piece of paper didn't stop a nutcase. And even recorded podcasts proclaiming he had been falsely accused after being served. When banned from gyms, he allegedly used aliases to regain access and boasted online that aliases stay rotating, moves stay evolving. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get around this stuff. Plus, there's lots of gyms out there. The indictment details various instances of Dadig's alarming behavior, including traveling to Des Moines, Iowa, where he approached a woman in a parking garage and subjected her to unwanted sexual touching, and traveling from his Pittsburgh home to Ohio, where he showed up uninvited at a woman's residence and messaged her saying that he was obsessed with her daughter and that he was quote, literally turning myself on thinking about making babies with you. Dear God, that's a terrible pickup line. That's another problem with crazies. Their communication skills really need work. If you're going to be crazy, be a really educated crazy so you can formulate good pickup lines like Ted Bundy did. He had a unibrow, but he could talk. Prosecutors cite interstate pursuit as well, including an episode in Florida where Dadig allegedly followed a woman from a gym to her apartment for 2 miles and later tagged himself online at a hotel less than a mile from her workplace, underscoring the systemic and escalating nature of the conduct. I'll be interested to see this trial go on because I bet a lot more crazy bonkers crap is going to come out. It's too bad Ann Rule, I think, is super old and not writing books anymore because I'd buy the paperback of this. If he's a millionaire, this is the plot of a best-selling romance novel. Yeah, you're not wrong, sadly. All right. Hey, you guys want to hear about Chernobyl? Got some news on that front because you know it's going to be good. Chernobyl's protective shield can no longer contain nuclear material after drone strike, says UN watchdog. Yeah, because, how could that go wrong? The protective shield at the Chernobyl nuclear plant can no longer contain radioactive material from the site's 1986 disaster after being crippled in a drone strike, the new UN nuclear watchdog said Friday. How'd you like that job? What are you going to do today, Phil? Oh, I got to go out to the Ukraine and check on Chernobyl. The shield, called the new safe containment at Chernobyl, was severely damaged by February 14th drone strike, and we're just finding out about this now. The International Atomic Energy Agency said in a statement, Ukraine accused Russia of carrying out the strike, which the Kremlin denied. Maybe it was Poland getting even with you, killing a couple of their people and trying to frame the Ruskies, you dickheads. The NSC has lost its primary safety functions, including the containment capability, the IAEA said. The massive $2.3 billion arch-shaped structure was built in 2019 to seal in radioactive material and seal out wind, snow, and rain over Chernobyl's number 4 reactor. Fucking autoplays. It weighs 36,000 tons, is 345 feet tall, and 540 feet long, and spans 840 feet. I don't want to date it. Jesus, who cares? It was named one of the 50 most influential projects of the past 50 years by the Project Management Institute. The NSC was built to last 100 years. Well, that didn't work. It was financed by Chernobyl Shelter Fund. The drone strike also caused a major fire, which damaged the outer coating of the steel structure, constructed to contain the radioactive remains of the reactor. Remember, there's a major river near here, so there is. I'm pointing like you can see what I'm pointing at. But yeah, that's a problem if this starts leaking. The IAEA's inspection found that the shield's load-bearing structures and monitoring systems were not damaged, thank God. It was not clear how much of a threat to the surrounding environment or the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, which sits 80 miles away, the damage to the shield posed, but a major issue did not appear imminent. Yeah, they say that right now, but how many times have they had to backpedal on this stuff? They've been lying to us about the Iranians for decades now, so why wouldn't they lie to the Ukrainians about this? We all saw the movie. If you didn't see the Chernobyl documentary series, go watch it. It's fantastic. A lot of people died, and a lot more were displaced. So this is old pictures of the place. So yeah, it's been damaged. There were some whoopsie doodles. Somebody threw a drone at it. Who's stupid enough to do that? Probably the Ukrainians, honestly. What the fuck is it influencing? Probably hideous architecture. The OG glow in the dark. That might effectively end the war. If everybody dies of radiation sickness, yeah, it could. Yeah, the HBO thing was pretty good. There was a documentary series on the History Channel a while back that was fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Most of what we told sounds like Chernobyl. I see what you did there. This is probably worse than they're saying. This is just what I'm saying. I'm a conspiracy theorist. But you want to hear something really cool? I do have one bit of good news in here, though. You guys might like. This is fascinating. Archaeologists lift the lid on a 1,700-year-old Roman sarcophagus hidden beneath Budapest. So these guys are grave robbing in orange and yellow, basically. But yeah, look how small that is. You forget how short people were back in the day, because like if you go and look at a museum set of armor from like the medieval era, the guys were all like 5'3". They were all tiny little dudes. I'd be a giant back then. I'd have over a foot on the average knight. A remarkably well-preserved Roman sarcophagus has been unearthed in Hungary's capital, offering a rare window into the life of a young woman inside the world, and she inhabited around 1,700 years ago. Archaeologists with the Budapest History Museum discovered the limestone coffin during a large-scale excavation of Buda, a northern district of the city that once formed part of Equinicum, a bustling Roman settlement on the Danube frontier. Untouched by looters and sealed for centuries, the sarcophagus was found with its stone lid still fixed in place, secured by metal clamps and molten lead. That's really rare. When researchers carefully lifted the lid, they uncovered a complete skeleton surrounded by dozens of artifacts. The peculiarity of the finding is that it was hermetically sealed sarcophagus. It was not disturbed previously, so it was intact, said Gabriela Fenyez, the excavation's lead archaeologist. The coffin lay among the ruins of abandoned houses in a quarter of Aquinicum, vacated in the 3rd century and later repurposed as a burial ground. Nearby researchers uncovered a Roman aqueduct and 8 simpler graves, but none approaching the richness or pristine condition of the sealed tomb. Yeah, somebody looted the poor people tombs. Keeping the Roman funerary customs, the sarcophagus held an array of objects, 2 completely intact glass vessels, bronze figures, and 140 coins. A bronze hairpin, a piece of amber jewelry, and traces of gold-threaded fabric, along with the size of the skeleton, pointed to the grave belonging to a young woman. The objects, Fenyez said, were items given to the deceased by her relatives for her eternal journey. And you're stealing them! This is why I'm not in archaeology, because grave robbing freaks me out. No way. I'm not risking curses. No way. They apparently didn't want that guy to get out, right? What's the over-under on curses? 90% cursed. You don't go messing with dead people. That's like one of my few rules in life. Don't mess with dead people. Not only have I watched way too many horror movies and mild paranoia aside, it's impolite. And if there are, I believe there is an afterlife, and I don't want to piss those people off. I don't go out of my way to piss off dead people. The deceased was buried very carefully by her relatives. They must have really loved who they buried here. During the Roman period, much of what is now Hungary formed the province of Panoia. I'm pronouncing all this stuff wrong. I don't know. Whose frontier ran along the right bank of the Danube River, less than a mile, 1.6 kilometers from the site. Short distance away stood a legionary camp guarding the empire's border, and the newly found structures are believed to have been part of the civilian settlement that grew around it. Anthropologists will now examine the young woman's remains, a process expected to reveal more about her age, health, and origins. Well, her health, she's dead, so mystery solved. Fixed it for you. Death certificate. She died of death. But even now, the grave's placement and abundance of artifacts offer strong clues. The sarcophagus and its contents definitely make it stand out, said really gurgly Coastal, I don't know, a Roman period specialist and co-leader of the project. This probably means that the deceased was well-to-do or of a higher social status. No shit, dude. She had gold with her. It's really rare to find a sarcophagus like this untouched and never used before, because in the 4th century, it was common to reuse early sarcophagi. That's gross. But you get discount sarcophagus because it was used. It's quite clear that the sarcophagus was made specifically for the deceased. Excavators also removed a layer of mud roughly 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches thick, from inside the coffin that Faz hopes could contain more treasures. I suspect we could find jewelry. We haven't found any earrings or other jewelry belonging to the woman, so I hope these small items will turn up during the sifting of the mud. You'd think they would have been a little more careful with that. For Fenyez, the discovery of the Roman sarcophagus is not only scientific significance, but also an emotionally resonant insight into devotion displayed by the people in ancient times. It was very yeah, they cared. They loved their relative. Oh, that's so unheard of. Yeah, pretty crazy. They found a mummy this intact. Were they Jewish? No, they're Roman. The Romans. Don't disturb the dead. They outnumber us and they're hard to kill. Yeah, I don't know how to turn undead, okay? I'd make a terrible priest. Oh, horrible. And I only know like 2 priests, okay? And only one of them I think could actually turn undead. The other one got a mail-in certificate, okay? So I don't really trust him to turn undead. But yeah, that's some crazy nonsense. I just thought that was cool. It's not very often you get to see that sort of thing. California, this one's for you. Hey man, how you doing? She's buried in her circus outfit. Yes, trapeze artist. California health officials, oh, this comes from Fox. California health officials issue urgent warning to mushroom foragers after deadly poisoning outbreak. This is what killed that Into the Wild guy. Eating stuff that looked like it was safe, but wasn't. The California Poison Control System has identified at least 21 cases of aminotoxin poisoning that left one adult dead and several others, including children, with severe liver damage. One even might need a liver transplant. That sucks, because that was probably one of the kids. But one person's dead. Aminotoxin poisoning is really, really nasty. They warned us about this in Boy Scouts. That's some wicked stuff. Not only will it mess up your liver, it's going to hurt a lot. Like not a little bit. Not like, ow, my tummy hurts. More like my appendix is exploding kind of pain, from what I hear. The poisoning was likely caused by the death cap mushroom. In case the name didn't give you a hint, it's not a pleasant mushroom. It's not going in your salad, hopefully, which is easily confused with edible mushrooms. Officials warned to watch out. Also watch out for the destroying angel mushroom. The destroying angel mushroom. It destroys angels. Whoever named these is brilliant, because that's how you should name stuff. Not like, oh, it's the gray striped tummy tucker. No, you want it to be like terrifying. Oh, some lady murdered 3 family members with mushrooms, apparently. Open that one first for after the stream. That's what I'm going to read. This undated photo of from the California Department of Health shows a death cap mushroom. It looks like a lot of other mushrooms. So, yeah, be careful, guys. Residents in California's Monterey County became sick after eating mushrooms found in a local park, and another outbreak happened in the San Francisco area. There's a problem with dumb hippies, I've noticed over the years, because I've known many, especially in college, and I still know a few. They think they're expert foragers. They don't look at books or anything. They're just like, that's a mushroom. It must be okay to eat. What's the worst that could happen? And that is how you die, because that's just stupid. Symptoms can range from mild to moderate depending on how much of the mushroom was consumed, including stomach cramps, diarrhea, nausea, organ failure, and liver damage, and in rare cases, death. Depends on how much you ate. Even if gastrointestinal symptoms improve, serious complications can still occur, including liver damage, Poison Control Center warned. This one is the unlisted. This is just a random mushroom. Death cap mushrooms contain potentially deadly toxins that can lead to liver failure. My liver's bad enough at me. I don't need to push my luck. Plus, I'm not supposed to eat mushrooms anymore anyway, so I'm pretty safe on this one. But still, be careful if you're out wandering the California wilderness, you guys. Because the death cap can easily be mistaken for edible safe mushrooms, we advise the public not forage for wild mushrooms at all during this high-risk season. Mushrooms grow in abundance during California's rainy season, which is October through March, because apparently they don't have winter. But the Poison Control Center warned that eating the wrong wild mushrooms can cause serious illness or even death. Wow. A lot of mushroom hunters go missing, 411 anyway, but yeah, going out foraging for mushrooms, if you're not 100% on what you're getting, you are really running the risk of poisoning. There are plenty of poisonous. It's fungus, for God's sake. One of the nice mushroom sauce, right? I like mushrooms too. I'm just not allowed to have them for health reasons. Mario's gonna shit himself to death. They're hippies. Are any of them smart? Not really. No, that's a fair point. Hundreds of poisonings are reported at the center each year, most causing severe illness and sometimes death. Half of roughly 4,500 mushroom poisonings reported across the U.S. in 2023 were in children. And that's the downside, really, is the hippies will go out and forage, and they'll give this stuff to their kids. And like I said, if you don't know what you're getting, that was like the first rule of Boy Scouts when we were out in the woods. If you don't know what it is, or if you're not positive, don't get it. Don't eat it. And I've seen people eat all kinds of goofy shit over the years, but mushroom, any kind of like wild plant, you got to be kind of careful about. There's a fungus among us. It's true. It's true. There is. All right. So, yep, just to let you know about the dangers of mushrooms. Okay, Texas AG sues Muslim Epic City developers for fraud. This guy does a lot of work. He's a busy dude. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has sued East Plano Islamic Center, Epic, and the community capital partners in Texas for engaging in an illegal development scheme that violated Texas securities law. Now, this was supposed to be an enclave of some kind that was mostly like meant to be an all Islamic enclave, which that makes me really sketchy. We talked about this a little while ago, a few hours or an hour and 40 minutes ago. It's a bad idea to have a bunch of one group in one area and not have them integrate into society. He alleged the group was running an illegal security scheme tied to the 400-acre community that was going to be known as Epic City. The leaders behind Epic City have engaged in a radical plot to destroy hundreds of acres of beautiful Texas land and line their own pockets, Paxton said in a press release. I will relentlessly bring the full force of the law against anyone who thinks they can ignore the rules and hurt Texans. The unlawful project known as Epic City will be stopped, and those responsible will be barred from ever creating another fraudulent operation like this again. Why don't you throw a few in jail? That'll help. He's going to get a lot of blowback from this and get called Islamophobic, which I don't think he cares about. He's a Texan. Paxton launched the suit alleging that Epic and the CCP engaged in fraudulent practices, not the Chinese, the other one. Engaged in fraudulent practices to raise funds for the project, used promotional materials that unlawfully said the city would be only for those in the Muslim community as the epicenter of Islam in North America. That's a violation of the fair housing laws. They can't do that, technically. But it wouldn't surprise me if they got away with it, because you're Islamophobic. Investigators have also alleged that the developer did not take reasonable steps to verify those who were supposed to be accredited investors in the project. The lawsuit alleged the defendants devised a scheme to publicly sell what they described as shares, which provided an interest in a limited partnership, the units, and warrants it to acquire units to raise the equity for the development of Epic City, the offering scheme, to accredited investors. Over 50% of the instruments were sold in Texas and offered pursuant to an offering circular referred to as the Confidential Private Placement Memorandum. $1 million in investor funds were withdrawn for operating expenses. I'll bet a bunch of that disappeared up somebody's nose. Per violation, it's only $20,000. I'd be willing to bet, though, that if they're going after fraud, they could probably go for some criminal charges, too. But you get them on the financial ones first, and then you go criminal. Diabolical. I always hear that in Pegasus' voice now. Islamophobe, yeah, so, right? Yeah, words are definitely losing the sting they used to have. There's a video going around of a woman that worked at Cinnabon. She's already been fired. And she was saying some pretty offensive things to a couple of Somali people. But if you watch real closely, there's an extended version of the clip where they say something about her being uncovered. And her allegation from her GoFundMe is that they were saying racist things to her first. And so she called them the N-word. But they were saying things about her being uncovered and basically being a whore. That she was like a dirty, unclean woman, that kind of thing. So that's going to end up being pretty messy. Phobia is an irrational fear. Fear of Islam is very rational. Absolutely. You getting hungry, kitty cat? Kitty cat's coming over to talk to me. Hey, let's talk about that dumbass mayor of New York that just got elected. New York Post, Zorhan Mamdani sparks outrage by tapping radical who praised notorious cop killer Asada Shakur for education transition team. Oh, I'm so shocked. He tapped a radical. Oh, my God. Shakira Ansari, the co-executive director for the Alliance of Quality Education, a far-left activist group once fronted by Sex and the City star Cynthia Nixon, was selected last week for Mamdani's Transition Committee for Youth and Education. If you live in New York City, get out now. Seriously, just sell all your shit, scrape whatever money you can get together, and move somewhere else, because this is going to get ugly, like 1970s ugly. Ma'am dummy, right? Smellies were sold to the West, so the N-word shouldn't bother them. Yeah, I don't think it did, actually. More Star Wars names? Yeah, tell me about it. This is like bad fantasy novel names. In an interview, she was probably born like Susan or something. In an interview with the website Lingua Franca, Shakir Ansari was asked if she would spend an afternoon with any woman, past or present. Who would it be, and what question would she ask her? The activist and mother of 8 responded with the convicted cop killer. Asada Shakur, I believe she has so much to offer. With all the reflection you must have done after all the years as a Black Panther, what advice do you have for Black women to move the movement while also caring for each other? There's a bunch of nonsense. Shakira, born Joanne Deborah Chesmard, was convicted in the cowardly murder of New Jersey State Trooper Warner Forrester on May 2nd, 1973. She was riding with comrades Zaid Malik Shakur and Sadida Akoli when they were pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike by State Trooper James Harper for a busted taillight. Forrester, who was providing backup, was shot and killed in the ensuing gunfight. Along with the Black Panthers, she was a member of the fringe radical leftist group, the Black Liberation Army. She was found guilty of murder and assault in 1977. 2 years later, 3 BLA members disguised as visitors busted her out of the Clinton Correctional Facility for Women in New Jersey. They drew guns and took 2 correction officers hostage and hijacked a prison van. The fugitive ultimately fled to Cuba in 1984, where she was granted asylum. Shakir, who described herself as a 20th century escaped slave, was added to the FBI's most wanted terrorist list in May 2013, the first woman ever. New York's finest and those who've lost cops in their family were galled by Mamdani's pick. Of course they were. But he's anti-cop. You got to remember he was pro-defunding the police and coming up with like decolonizing police work and all that stupid bullshit. The cops in New York are about to get hamstrung like they've never seen in living memory. Supporting a cop killer, you know, is not a good thing. Gracie Machete, whose husband, NYPD officer Robert Machete, was murdered in 1989 when she was 7 months pregnant. Jesus. Machete, like Forrester, was shot and killed during a traffic stop while questioning 2 suspicious males. When someone kills an officer, whether he's from New Jersey, New York, or Alabama, I don't care. It's something that families are going to stick together on. Former NYPD Lieutenant and U.S. Marine Eric Dime was stunned by the selection. That's unbelievable. I don't think it's a small oversight. I think it's a conscious decision. You think? You think? This is the guy that was killed. Got to admit, their outfits for Jersey cops, they do look very Italian, shall we say. They look sharp, don't get me wrong, but they look very 1930s Italian. When someone with that history is given a seat at the table, it sends the message that your sacrifice is negligible or negotiable, whatever word, I don't know. This just strips away the morale of the NYPD. It should. You are on notice. This guy is a radical communist. You guys are in big fucking trouble in New York, all right? And he's painting a target on every NYPD officer's back. They're going to look for a reason to either fire you or throw you in jail and replace you with some fucking weird, goofy idea that these commies have of what policing is, which is a bunch of feel-good patrols that do nothing, solve no problems, and get people killed. Added former NYPD lieutenant and co-host of New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast, Joe Macari, said Shakira Ansari has every right to her opinions, but she should have no business shaping education policy in a city where thousands of cops entrust their own kids to be educated and kept safe. She shouldn't be messing with any kid's minds. She's obviously a radical. Shakira Ansari, who has 3 grandchildren, has been an education activist for 2 decades. She was named City and State New York Magazine's 25 most influential people in Brooklyn in 2017. Wow, left-leaning rag nominated a left-leaning person for most influential. I'm shocked. She launched her own fashion line in 2024, raising $15,000 on GoFundMe. Yeah, I bet that failed. Mamdani, during his mayoral campaign, refused to condemn a sick tribute to the cop killer from the Democrat Socialists of America. Tell you, this guy's a radical. He's going to defund a bunch of the cops. And those of you that are stuck there, if you're in the NYPD, guys, seriously start looking for another job. Crime is going to be insanely high. As soon as he takes office, they're going to institute a bunch of dumbass rules and regulations meant to keep the cops from actually doing their job. They'll get them on like ticket duty, and that'll be it. There's going to be a bunch of unsolved murders, rapes, kidnappings, all sorts of crazy shit. It's going to go through the roof. We vow to honor her legacy by recognizing our duty to fight for our freedom, to win, to love, and to protect one another because we have nothing to lose but our chains, the DSA said on X after Shakira died on September 25th. Ma'am Donnie ducked questions about the tribute when grilled by the Post. Yeah, it's going to get ugly. These are the type of radicals he's hiring in. So you can expect a lot of, if you're hiring people that celebrate criminals, you can expect crime. These bundles of sticks fought to keep people locked in their homes 5 years ago. Yep. Yeah, this is going to get bad, guys. New York's going to be a disaster. And this is what they voted for. They deserve it. But if you're a reasonably intelligent person, get out of New York City. Get out of the 5 boroughs. Get out as far as you can away from New York City. I don't think even Jersey's far enough. Just don't bring your weird hippie shit to our states. Pennsylvania doesn't want your nonsense either, I don't think. They got their own problems. So you heard about that J6 pipe bomber that even like Cenk Uygur was calling a white dude until it came out that he's a chocolate fella. Yeah, J6 pipe bomber suspect, not a Trump supporter. Oh my gosh, I'm shocked. He was not politically affiliated with anything. He apparently just wanted to blow shit up. I'm still a little confused because not that long ago, it was reported that there was DNA found on the pipe bombs that came back to a CIA agent. So why is that not being addressed? Is that just being ignored, or was that fake news? I don't even know because I haven't seen anybody talking about that. Whitey McWhiterson, noted white supremacist? Yeah. Could you tell this dude's white? He's not an ugly fella, so he's not because he's like an incel or anything. Because, incels tend to have neck beards. And, unless he's like super socially awkward or something. Suspect behind the pipe bombs planted near Capitol Hill that night before January 6, 2021 is reportedly not politically affiliated, despite earlier reports suggesting he was a Trump supporter. They always say they're Trump supporters. Brian Cole has been charged with placing explosive devices outside the DNC and RNC headquarters that did not detonate. While MS Now, formerly MSNBC, reported that Cole confessed to FBI investigators and claimed to be a Trump supporter with anarchist views. I don't see a Trump supporter saying they're an anarchist. I'm sorry. Sanders supporter, maybe. The Daily Mail cited Cole's family as disputing that characterization. His grandmother, Loretta, said Cole is a recluse who lives with in his mother's basement. He's a nerd. In Virginia, works his data entry job. That's what broke him right there. You ever done data entry? It's awful. Has been grieving the loss of his pet dog. That's probably a little bit more recent. He's not politically affiliated with anything, she said in an interview. He's no social media contacts. He's never online going back and forth with politics or anything like that. He says he don't like either party. That's pretty obvious if you're trying to blow them both up. Loretta described Cole as borderline autistic and said he has the mind of a 16-year-old despite being around 30. That's why they're thinking, what the hell, what's going on? Well, 16-year-olds get angry pretty easily, so I piss a lot of people off, I know. She also said FBI agents visited her office the day Cole was arrested and that her son, Brian Cole Sr., had a message passed to him at the arraignment on Friday. We're told that the main thing he's very upset about is that he's disappointed us that he got locked up. We told him we're out here. We're going to make sure things taken care of. Soap on a rope. Cole's been charged with unlawful transportation of explosive device in interstate commerce with intent to kill, injure, or intimidate, as well as malicious destruction or attempted malicious destruction. He faces potential prison sentence up to 20 years. I'm surprised they didn't hit him with a terrorism charge. Actively disliking both political parties is political. Shh. We don't talk about that. If the guy's got anarchist leanings, that would actually make sense. He hates both parties. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just some idiot on the internet. Data entry is great if you have no one checking up on you or your progress. Yeah, but if you got deadlines, ooh, that gets ugly. Buddy of mine did medical billing and coding. I never saw anybody's blood pressure skyrocket that quickly in my life. It was like the third day he did the job. He was just a wreck. Good dude, too. Real stable, down-to-earth guy. And he was just frazzled. But yeah, every data entry person I know, it makes them kind of weird after a while. Not necessarily bad weird, just weird. It can break you. Those charges are the definition of terrorism. Yeah, but they're charging him with specific charges. I get what you're saying, but they could be charging him in different ways to get more time. I think they're going to probably go after him in a couple different ways, like holding a few back so they can charge those if these fail. Now into the weirdest story I stumbled across today. Comes from Australia. Does not involve kangaroos, Tim, if you're in the audience. Prison bride's bizarre posts about rapist husband. That's a thing. This is from news.com.au, but originally it's from The Sun, apparently. A bride who married a serial rapist in Barlini has made light of his crimes by posing in a stripy jail-style outfit. Brogan, which is a little too close to Bogan, Quinn, 29, wore the matching top and bottoms for a TikTok video and labeled the look prison chic. She often posts about her prison wife life and claims she can fix Kenneth Quinn, 51, who is 22 months into a 15-year stretch for abusing and raping his ex-wife over nearly 3 decades, The Sun reported. Brogan, who has a large tattoo of Quinn's initials on her wrist, calls herself a prison rights activist, I can't talk, and has joked about her sicko hubby's jail stretch. Yeah, you're crazy, lady. It comes after we told how Brogan married Quinn from Paisley at the Glasgow Nick and flashed her wedding ring in an Instagram clip hours later. The psychologist and broadcaster, Dr. Pam Spur, told how women were attracted to criminals for a variety of reasons, including being in denial. I think being stupid is probably more accurate. She said most women would recoil at the thought of even speaking to a violent criminal. The psychologist and broadcaster, Dr. Pam Spur, told how women were attracted to criminals. Why did you repeat? Editors. She said most women, blah, 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 but the thrill seeker gets an intoxicating kick out of being in touch with a dangerous character. There's a certain amount of boundary there, so you could be near that. You're in communication with that dangerous person, but they're not actually able to hurt you right now. That could bite you when they get out, but these are not healthy mentally people usually. The attention seeker enjoys the notoriety, while women can also be in denial, a powerful state of mind. I've met a lot of those women. Then there is the campaigning do-gooder and those who get a disturbing thrill from being involved with the sociopath. Brogan of Jedburgh, Roxburghshire, has dismissed Quinn's crimes, including throwing the woman down the stairs when she was pregnant, as a mistake. She campaigned for justice for innocent men in Scotland, led by women whose partners are in jail for sex attacks on women and girls as young as 14. This lady needs a therapist and probably should not be living on her own. She probably should be in an institute. This is just deranged. How many women sent Charles Manson love letters? Too many. This is an Australian news outlet, but this is a story from Scotland. Don't blame us for this nut bar. Well, I got it from you guys. So, yeah, look, just because she's Scottish doesn't mean I'm not blaming you guys for it. Brogan, too close to Bogan. Therapist, not the rapist, right? She does need a straight jacket. This is really unhealthy. So, yeah, that's about all I had for tonight. Anybody have any questions? Any statements? Any thoughts? If you're watching this on replay, gang, feel free to comment in the description. Probably on Rumble, because I don't know how long the link will be good. It'll be up for at least a couple days, because I'll forget. I'll download it and upload it to Rumble. She probably gives amazing head. Crazy chicks usually do. But see, the problem with crazy chicks like this, you don't know if they're going to stab you or hug you. You also don't know if they're going to use teeth or tongue. So you got to be real careful where you're sticking things. Does she call him Mr. J? I don't know. But she seems to have kind of a Harley Quinn thing going, doesn't she? Go to work? Ew. We just heard about a thought. No, you heard about a lunatic. She's probably kind of cute, too. That's the worst part. The picture isn't very good of her, but she's probably kind of cute. And she's in her prime, but what I've noticed about crazy chicks is they tend to get really weird looking as they age. So usually around 30s, they start looking weird. Like they get kind of fat in weird places. Usually the neck or head looks big. And the crazy starts to affect their physiology. It's an effect that I think will often be denied because nobody wants to point out ugly people are weird looking. But weirdos look weird as they age. When they're in their 20s, though, they're pretty good. Oh, the second issue of the Deadpool Batman crossover's out? Cool. I got to pick that up. I don't have it yet. I just finished the first one, and the review should be up as soon as I get the images finished. I had to fix some audio problems on a couple other things, but I did get that one reviewed. It is recorded, and the images are all scanned in. I just got to cut them up and assemble everything. Will this be on the test? Yes. YouTube can't handle me calling people ugly. Yeah, you gotta dress it up. They're very unfortunate looking sometimes. It's not my fault. There's a bunch of uggos out there that need me to call them ugly. You know, that's the world's doing, not mine. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm just rambling now. It's probably about time for me to go to bed, or more likely get lost in like 4 YouTube videos. They're beauty challenged. Yeah, they're unfortunate looking. Okay, I took notes. Oh, hope so. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out. Really good turnout today. I hope you're all doing well. Take care of yourselves, and watch out for monsters. They're out there. There's a lot of crazies. Don't eat wild mushrooms, we learned. Stay out of Minneapolis if you can avoid it. And don't go near Tim Pool's house because apparently there's gunplay afoot. So you guys have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you real soon, either on the next one of these, which hopefully I'll be doing more often, or on Monkey in the Morning. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you then.